Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review of the anime Doctor Stone Season 1 on Toonami. And I really enjoyed this anime. From the premise to the animation to pretty much the overall premise of the show. They just did a really good job of having an interesting world with an interesting characters, and I can't wait till they get Season 2 out. So, we start off this series and it's in present day. We're like, okay, we're seeing stuff going on. We get this character Taiju confessing his love to this other character Yuzuriha, as we see his friend Senku, the scientist kind of dude, just doing his scientist kind of things. When out of nowhere, this green light pops up and turns everybody to stone. Now, we do have to keep in mind that it's mainly on Earth, which comes into later as we start learning some things going on. So afterwards, it's like 3,700 years later, and we see that Taiju wakes up, and we see that Senku had woken up before him, and he's figured out this like solution that'll get people out of. Well, he's in the basic, like the beginning stages of that because he used that on Taiju to get him out. They refine the process and are like, hey, all right, we're good here, while also getting themselves back up to kind of modern standards. Now, granted, it's kind of slow in the beginning as we see Senku has to go through all this stuff, making tools and figuring out all these different kind of ways to make the things he needs to make better technology and everything. So it's a cool kind of survival game like that as he's like going up. We even see certain things acquired. It does a lot of stuff with like making it into video game kind of terms without it being a complete video game. And it's like, hey, this is kind of cool. So we learned that like Senku knows what he needs to do to kind of get everything up and running, but he needs workers that specialize in certain things. Senku is not very physically inclined. He can do certain things, but he's going to need stronger and faster kind of people to do things. Hence, Taiju. And, well, also Taiju's his friend, but he's like really gung ho and does a lot of stuff. But the thing is, they get trapped by an animal and have to find some other person. This brings in Tsukasa, and he's like saves them at first, but you're like, okay, there's kind of a weird kind of vibe with this dude, and he kind of morphs into the villain, at least at the towards the halfway point of the series. So I'll have to see how that works out as it continues on. But he's a really good villain because he's not a complete mustache twirling villain of like being evil for the sake of being evil. He has well defined motivations. He does not like the world that they had previously come from because of all the inequality and what was done to nature. So he's going to be picky and choosy with who he brings back. He actually starts breaking statues and murdering people, where Senku wants to bring everybody back and pretty much get back to where we were technology-wise and even get into outer space. So this is the big kind of conflict ideology-wise of essentially Luddite versus technology and seeing where it kind of goes from there. It's like, okay, so they also get into reviving Yuzuriha. So we've got our main three, and they try and go off and make gunpowder. Works because they were trying to get that to a point because they needed something that could give them an advantage over Tsukasa. But Tsukasa is able to catch up to him before they're able to like make enough, but they have enough to set off a bang that gets anybody else in the area to notice them. So Tsukasa gives an ultimatum to Senku if he'll give up science. He says he won't because it's integral to who he is. It's an important part of him that he cannot give up, so he's like, alright, I'll kill you, but I'll do it as painlessly as possible. So, he does that, but Senku was smart enough to leave some of the stone at his neck, and they use the solution, and it's able to heal him and make sure that he's still alive. Now, granted, I could see how some people would think of this as an ass pull kind of thing, but it's done in a way and executed in such a way that it's more of like forward thinking on Senku's part and pretty much hoping because he didn't have the complete knowledge that he would have needed to know that that would work. So, he pretty much has Taiju and Yuzuriha think that he's dead and become spies within the Tsukasa Empire because Tsukasa's got all of the ingredients for the revival fluid, so he's got a distinct advantage of like reviving more people. Senku is able to hook up with this other village, and it's really kind of cool. He gets into this one girl who had popped up, and she was pretty much carrying down healing water for her sister. And her name's Kohaku, and her sister's Ruri, and she's like the village priestess, and she's got this sickness. So Senku's like, you know what, fine, I'm not letting into your village. That's kind of cool. And see, the thing is, these people don't have the kind of markings that they were trapped in stone. So it's like, okay, some people evidently didn't get turned into stone, which we find out as Senku's like doing stuff with the village. He goes through this whole process, creates a sulfa drug that helps cure her, and they have to, of course, go through a tournament to get the next village chief. Senku kind of wins because of like foolery that comes along, but we see all these other different kind of people getting into effect. We see Chrome, who's the village kind of sorcerer dude, and who he turns over to a scientist with Senku and all the kind of stuff because he is a scientist. He just was doing things with his limited knowledge. He was a scientist, and sometimes that seems like magic to people. And we see him doing all these kind of stuff. He gets cola for this one dude, Gen, who is he was coming. He's kind of a mentalist dude that Tsukasa revived, but he comes in on Senku's side because of all the stuff that he's able to do, and seeing his gradual focusing of becoming part of the group is really kind of a cool thing. It's a nice character development for him, Senku, and the rest of the people that they start bringing in, because two guards are like, all right, fine, you can come in, after he like gives them specially coated spear tips and everything. And seeing all these things happen out of like him giving him glasses, doing all these things, getting him up to like even hydropower and using sulfuric acid and everything, as they're going step by step and getting through all these things, because we get the sulfa drug. We eventually get him to katanas because they build those to have effective weapons, because Tsukasa sends some of like his heavy hitters to kind of test the waters. It's like, fine, we'll hold off, and when we've got a bigger number, after like when spring rolls around, we're coming in and destroying the village. We also get information that this village was made by Senku's father, because Senku's father and some other astronauts were on the International Space Station. They were not affected by whatever the green light did, and they came back down to Earth because they're like, we're going to die up here if we don't have anything. And they go down and they pretty much make that village, and it was like a gift from Senku's father to pretty much give him friends, and it was like really touching, and we're like, holy shit. And seeing Senku deal with that in his own kind of Senku way was nice. It's like he says he's like, you stupid old man kind of thing, but seeing him go through all these things, also finding a time capsule that like they had a singer on the space station. She made a record and everything, and people were like, you can listen to dead voices? And see, it worked out because Senku's biggest thing that he was going to use to fight technologically against the Tsukasa Empire was going to be a cell phone. I'm like, okay, how's this going to work? And he made that, and he was able to use the parts from that to make a thing that would play the record. And seeing all the people really affected, and seeing them turned over to science, like the character Magma. He wanted to be the village chief, but he's gotten to the point where it's like, you know what? I don't want you to die, and that's mainly because I want you to keep showing me awesome stuff. And seeing them affected by like hearing music and all this kind of stuff, and seeing the whole village come into effect, and see this one old craftsman dude just being like, yeah, I'm fired up, I can do this. And we see it end after Senku's like, yeah, we just gotta build another cell phone so that way we can have the information from Taiju and Yuzuria as they're pretty much getting amped up because they're ready for Senku to give the word and tell them what to do. And it's like, alright, cool. And we get some other kind of cool little things. The village gives a present of a telescope to Senku for like his birthday. We also see that he's able to make electric lights because they needed to use vacuum tubes for the cell phone that they were making, and they pretty much had a Christmas tree for that. And it was really nice how this was done. Now granted, this is more of a kind of science survival kind of thing with comedy. There really isn't as much action, at least in this part. So if you're into action, this really isn't going to be your anime, at least until the second season. This is really setting up for that confrontation for the Stone Wars. And I can't wait to see what goes on with that. But this is mainly focused on showing you the science and going through that adversity. There are conflicts of like ideologies, how to get things done, and obstacles in the way. And it's really nice to see how it's done. And character designs are really good. I liked the voice acting that they did. It didn't seem crazy or out there. Nothing drew me out of it. All of them fit the characters very well for what I was seeing. And the animation was pretty cool. I like when they did the like comedic bits and they did all these different kind of styles, but it all kind of fit together. There is no part where like the comedy overshoots the seriousness of certain situations. It blends very well together. You get your good serious moments, you get your good comedic moments, and they all work very well in synergy. So I would highly recommend this anime to people that are like into seeing crazy kind of things with like science and learning things, character development for like how these events and these technological developments will change the world and everything. Because by the end of it, the village is like during winter, but they've got stoves now to warm themselves and have warm food. And it's like holy crap, and it's just very entertaining. I'd recommend this to pretty much anyone. Granted, there's some kind of sexual situations, but nothing over the top. So I'd recommend this to like anybody trying to introduce anybody to anime. This is a perfect kind of entry point thing as well. I'm like, yeah, this is pretty good. This shows you kind of things. Now, granted, if you're not into that kind of thing, this really wouldn't be for you, but I think anybody who would watch this would at least get some kind of value out of it, be it like the characters, learning the cool science and everything, or just having to like laugh at the comedy that goes on in it. So those are my review. Those are my opinions on the anime. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.